We're set when you guys are. Ready to roll? Okay. Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Adjustment meeting, February 12th, 2025. If we could start, Jamie, if you could take the roll, please.
Mr. Hagopian?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Here. Ms. Rathburn?
Here.
Ms. Mergler?
Here.
Mr. Yognick?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Mr. Mead? Mr. Galis?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Bob?
Will you rise, please?
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Okay. Is there any discussion, any changes, additions? Okay. Let's just all, Jamie, I'll let you call on that if we need to.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
It's just to approve the minutes.
Just approval of the minutes.
Missed that.
Mr. Jones? Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
Mr. Yognick?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman.
Yes. Okay. Rhonda, I'm just going to take the opportunity if you'd like to introduce who's sitting at the table with you.
I'll let everyone introduce themselves, but I'm Rhonda Montoya Hassan with the City Attorney's Office. I'm actually guest appearing tonight only for our interim City Attorney, Mr. Spence.
Zoning Administrator.
Bert Ford, Zoning Chief.
James Hollingsworth, Zoning Department.
Shaquila Crawford, Senior Administrative Assistant.
Thank you. Each member of the public that wishes to speak after each item is presented and discussed by the board will have 3 minutes per item. Representatives of associations and groups will have 5 minutes. Jamie, if you could swear in.
Anyone intending to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give at this public hearing will be truthful and accurate? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give at this public hearing will be truthful and accurate? Thanks.
Thank you. In that case, our first case, case number 241-00005, 1036 Southeast 12th Way. Do we have an applicant? And before you get started, sir, I'm going to ask for disclosures. So, Milton? Okay. Samir?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Amy?
No.
Bob?
None.
Jason?
None.
Pat?
None.
And I did a site visits. So, go right ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Roberto Pena, and I'm representing the Met Wallies. And in the last meeting we went through, you guys deferred me to this meeting because they weren't available to be here, but they are here tonight. So if you have any questions for them, they'll be more than happy to come up. Ms. Metwally has all her paperwork. We sent more pictures in concerning the fence along the sidewalk. And it clearly shows that if we go with the 3-foot setback, that we would be going into the deck of the pool. I don't know anything else except that it was a wood fence before. And at that time, the fence came all the way up to the front of the property. When they did the pool construction, they had to remove part of the fence. And when they did that, they did put the setback in that area. But where the pillars are today, they've been existing from the beginning, and that goes along the sidewalk. Of course, some people here won't hear, but the fence goes as the road goes. So the height of the fence actually, it stays at 6 foot, but as the road goes up, it looks like it goes up higher. Our main concern is that we had a wood fence and we took it out and we're replacing it with aluminum louver fence. and we've been back and forth, and now what we're asking for is for permission to put the fence in. And at this time, like I said, the Met Wallies are here today. If you have any questions, and she has many photographs or anything that you'd like to see.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All righty.
In that case, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak to this matter, yes, sir. And when you come up, just please state your name and your property address, and speak in the microphone.
My name's Grenville Kirk, and I live at 2419 Andros Lane. My neighbor's applying for a setback variance, and I got a simple solution for it that pertains to additions shall conform to existing setbacks instead of the new code setback, which doesn't accomplish anything. The new addition should conform to existing setbacks. That way you have a good-looking building, not something that looks like it's made a mistake, because you won't have a dog leg in it. The roof line and the building wall line will all line up. It'll be better for property values, too. That's what I got to say.
May I ask if you are for granting this variance or against?
No, I'm against I'm for the variance. And what I'm saying is a way to make it so we don't have to apply for variances anymore, by stipulating that additions shall conform to existing setbacks. Plain and simple.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Okay. Board, did you have any questions of the applicant himself versus the contractor? If not, we could bring the contractor up if there is any questions. I know we have some new board members which have not been to the last meeting, but if there is any questions, you're welcome to ask. Okay. Seeing that we have none, we will close the public hearing, and let's bring it back to the board for discussion. Yes, I'm sorry, Bert.
So I just want to bring the attention of the contractor and the owners that the variance is to be able to use the existing piers that are on site, but the building set of plans that they've submitted shows new foundations and new piers. So they would have to revise those drawings to show them as existing and not new.
Okay.
No, clearly, Bert, good afternoon, by the way, or good evening. No, those pillars have been there. All I did was paint them white, but those pillars have been there since I can show you pictures of.
No, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that the plan showed new foundations and new piers. So you'll need to revise the plans you submitted to the building department to show the piers as existing. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay, no problem. I apologize. I misunderstood what you said. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Rhonda, with that in mind, is there anything that prevents us from voting on this by the fact that the plan has to be redone?
It's just a building plan.
Just a building plan. No. Okay. Thank you. Okay. In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve case PLN BOA 2410005. Approve the variance for section 47-19.5.B.1.D, as I feel the application meets the criteria of hardship for the variance.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie.
Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Ms. Merkler?
Yes.
Public hearings closed.
Mr. Yognick?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman?
Yes. Motion
Pass
passes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next case, case number 241-20001, 720 Isle of Palms. And just disclosures, Milton? Samir?
No.
Amy?
No.
Bob?
None.
Nope.
Jason?
No.
Pat? Okay, I spoke to council, and I did a site visit. Andrew?
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Andrew Shine, representing the property owner here. Last time at the January Board of Adjustment, we had deferred it because there was a discrepancy on our survey. So we had to have the surveyor make those edits and resubmit. Unfortunately, our surveyor still hasn't been able to make those edits. We've been hounding them for a little over a month now, so we are unfortunately going to have to request to defer this again until the next hearing. At this point, even if we went forward with the hearing tonight, what you would be either approving or denying wouldn't meet the field conditions, so it would be, at this point, kind of pointless to move forward tonight.
Make a motion to defer this to the March meeting. Is that going to be enough time for you, Andrew, or you want to come back in April?
Let's do April if we
Okay,
can.
I make a motion to defer this item to the April meeting.
Second.
Or,
Not defer, continue.
yeah, and contingent on receiving an updated survey.
Okay, I'll amend the motion. And is it defer or continue? Defer. Okay, defer to the April meeting, provided that in advance of that meeting, the new survey is provided.
That's a second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? Okay.
So just for a clarification, we deferred contingent upon the survey. If for whatever reason he can't receive a survey, then we should put it on the agenda, or
Well, I went with what you said, but if he wants to come back in April and he doesn't have the survey yet, I don't care. So I really wasn't going to make a contingent on anything.
Okay.
So can we go back and if
Please.
the second will agree to me amending it, I'm just going to say we're going to defer to April. And if he shows up in April, he has it. Great. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Okay, yeah, that's why.
If we don't have it in 2 weeks, we're going to get a new surveyor, so we will have it by
Okay,
April.
but I
Okay,
just
so
do
let's
not make it contingent on
contingent
anything.
on,
Okay,
please.
is that okay with, I think, Bob, you seconded it. All right, so the motion is to defer it to the April meeting, 2025.
One second before we go, and I'm sorry, and I'm going a little bit out, but you were looking to speak to this particular matter? Okay, and right now, we weren't going to hear this case. We were going to push it till April, so we weren't actually going to hear from the respondent, so it would be coming back at April's meeting. It would make sense to be able to speak on that. Yeah, but I'm sorry, sir, but we're actually not going to hear the case today, so to speak to or against it wouldn't be helpful. And it would be for when we have the case and we're going to hear it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready?
Did we re-voted?
Yeah, my motion was made and Bob seconded.
And Bob seconded,
my
so
revised motion.
Jamie, you could
Okay.
vote.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hergopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? And Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Next case, case number 24110002, 414 Northeast 23rd Avenue. We'll start with disclosures. Milton? Okay. Samir?
No, I don't have any.
Amy?
No.
Bob?
None.
Jason?
None.
Pat?
None.
And I have none as well. So, I don't know if your microphone's on. Is there a red light there? There you go.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry, if you could introduce yourself and property address.
The light is coming and going.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Good evening, board members and the city officials. I'm Fatima Hassan, the owner of 414, and I'm here to seek a variance from the setback requirements to put a garage due to the unique shape of my lot, which would not, unless the variance is granted, we cannot put a garage. We're seeking a variance from the on the front and back setbacks. I guess it is here. Just a second. Sorry?
This is a very unique one.
Yes, I have submitted the picture. 414 Northeast 23rd Avenue. The front requires a 25 feet setback, and we are seeking a variance of 10 feet and 4 inches. If the variance is granted and the proposed garage is constructed, we would be left with 14 feet 8 inches, and on the rear, we're seeking a variance of 10 feet and 6 inches. It requires 15 feet, and if we put a garage, a two-car garage, we would be left with 4 feet 6 inches.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this? Okay. Seeing that there's none, I'll close the public hearing. Let's bring it back to the board for any questions of the applicant. And Mohammed, your light is lit. Did you want to speak?
No.
You're welcome to. It's okay.
Go ahead. Can you speak?
Me and Rhonda, we were just speaking about it. Usually the variances are for this kind of lots, that's what we were just saying.
When did you buy this property?
2019.
Jason?
Was there any effort made to push the garage a little bit further to the south so it's not so far in the corner?
The existing house, which exists from the 50s, it's adjoining that. I mean, there's nowhere to push the existing structure. We inherited it.
Sure. I mean, it's quite a big. You're kind of going into the setback quite a bit, obviously, and it's a two-story garage. Am I correct? It's like a second floor living.
It's only for the visual appeal. I was talking to the neighbors because the house is an older house. On the right side, it is a two-story. In the middle, it's a single story, and there's nobody because the lot is a triangle. We're putting it, there's no other place to put it but on the corner side of the sharp angle, and there's nobody on the north side and back. I mean, there's no neighboring adjoining property.
Right, but that you end up with that one corner being less than, I think, sorry about my eyes here. It looks like it's 4'6" from the property line.
The boundary, yes.
Yeah, I mean, even with a standard setback, that would be pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Even closer than
but
probably.
There is a huge curb, like a hydrant outside.
I understand the swale and everything.
Sure.
Yep. That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, let's bring it back to the board for a vote. There happens to be,
Make a motion.
yes,
We have to break it up for how many?
I'm going to ask your advice on that, Rhonda. Is there, because of how it relates, should it be broken up or should it be together? There happens to be several requests.
I think they probably can be broken up, but it was really whatever the board's pleasure is. I don't think they're all dependent upon each other.
Okay. Well, then in that case, let's break it up. Bob, if you want to do the first one, do them one at a time.
Sure. Let's see the first one. This first one's, I'd like to move to accept or to grant the variance PLN BOA 2411-00002. I guess we're doing section 47-19.1.K general requirements. The first one.
Okay, that's the second one, actually.
Or second one. 47-5. Okay, sorry about that. -5.30. Motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, motion and a
Sorry for my
second. Any discussion? Jamie?
Ms. Merkler? Ms. Merkler?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hergopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
And Chair Elfman?
No.
Pass 5-2.
Okay, next one. Bob, you want to continue your trend?
I'd like to move section 47, accept the variance, sorry for my voice. Section 47-19.1.k, general requirements, variance for the minimum garage setback to be reduced to 15 feet 9 inches for a total variance request of 2 feet 3 inches. Move to accept that variance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hergopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman?
No.
Pass
Motion
5-2.
Okay. Bob, you're on a roll. You want to
Okay.
keep going?
I'd like to move request for a variance, section 47-19.2.b, architectural features of a residential district. This request for variance is to allow an overhang of 2 feet 10 inches, 34 inches from the face of the building, whereas the code permits a maximum of 1 foot 6 inches or 18 inches, a total variance request of 1 foot 4 inches for a total of 16 inches. I move acceptance.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hergopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman?
No. Motion passed.
Pass 5-2.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case, 241-10003, 241 Southwest 21st Street. I'll start with disclosures. Milton? Samir?
No, I don't have any.
Amy?
No.
Bob?
None.
Jason?
No.
Pat?
None.
Okay, and I did a site visit. So, welcome, sir. Please state your name and property address.
My name is Isidro Garcia. They call me Mike. And my wife is sitting down over there on the seat with the orange blouse. I live at 241 Southwest 21st Street, Fort Lauderdale. First, I would like to thank everyone in the city of Fort Lauderdale for their help in helping us through the process and completing their requirements, especially Karen. We have lived at this address for over 50 years. And in 2012, we had a chicky hut built by a Seminole Indian by the name of Sandy Osceola. At the time, he informed me that no permit was required, and I trusted him. The chicky hut has gone through Hurricane Irma in 2017 with winds between 150 and 120 miles an hour, and we didn't even lose the thatch. I have included a letter from my next-door neighbor, Pedro Padron, that he has been at this address for over 30 years, and he has no objections to the chicky hut. We are asking this committee for a variance from the required 5 feet to 2 feet, and there are several reasons for this request. One of the requests is that it provides shade for our family, for our gathering, for the grandkids, from the high temperatures of the summer. On behalf of our family, once again, thank you for considering our request.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to this matter? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any of our board members have a question for the applicant? Jason.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for your very concise and understandable presentation. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What brought this to the city's attention?
I think there were cameras in the neighborhood.
Okay.
For any violation. And you can't see the Chicky Hut from either from the street or for the 20-foot alley in the back. But the only way that could be seen is maybe a drone. I don't know how they...
But one day you got a violation notice on your door?
Yes, sir.
Huh. And you have no problems with any of your neighbors, I guess?
I don't have any problem with I got a neighbor on my east side, which is not too good, but you can't have everything.
Well, I'm assured by staff that there's no drones.
Yeah.
That the code department doesn't have the resources for drones in Fort Lauderdale.
No. Okay.
Okay, just curious because it's been there. I'm surprised to hear it's been there so long. So
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, did you have a question as well?
Well, originally I hadn't seen the pictures of the Cheeky Hut, but the pictures from the exterior, you can't see the Cheeky Hut from the exterior, so, okay.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, in that case, go ahead, Bob.
And I've been on the, losing side of these tiki huts for the last couple of years, but is there any way, do you have any wiggle room at all? In your back
If I did, I would do so.
Yard to move it a foot or two?
But I think it's 28 inches about to the house, and it's only 2 feet right now from the fence. And then on the south side is...
Do you have room to move it a foot or so? Or?
No, I don't. I do not have any room to move it. If I did, I probably would do it. But unfortunately, when I bought the property, it's 58 by 135, and I used most of it. And I've done everything I could. We met all the requirements from the city so that it would help us resolve this matter.
Thank you. Did that answer the question, Bob?
You ready for motion?
I just wanted to see if Bob had anything else. Did you have anything else, Bob?
No, not think of it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ready for a motion then, Pat?
I make a motion we approve the variance as requested for this structure only, as they meet the criteria for the granting of a variance.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
15 years. It's been there.
Ms. Ratburn?
Yes.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
No.
And Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Pass 6-1.
Thank you. Next case, case number 241-20002, 1717 Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. Disclosures first. Milton?
Don't have any.
Samir?
No.
Amy?
No.
Bob?
Drive by.
Jason?
Nope.
Pat?
No.
And none for me. Okay. You're on.
Thank you. Good evening. Members of the board, my name is Paula West. I am president of Plan West. Our address is 10152 Indian Town Road, Unit 159, Jupiter, Florida. And it's only me. So thank you. I am here to present a variance for 1717 Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. The property is located in the Birch Park Finger Estates, and my presentation is going to be a little longer than the last two applicants. Sure. Oh, yeah.
It's black.
Oh, wait. Thank you.
How
So, like
do
I
you see
said,
that from there, Rhonda? How do you see that from there?
I gave Rhonda a cue.
Okay.
I'll just
Or
wait
Rhonda,
for-
we could just say it's your secret, you have the ability to. Thank you very much. Thank you. Much
So
better.
if you could just start from,
Sure.
we've already read you in. You're fine there. If you
Yes,
could just start
and
from
I
there.
have been sworn in.
Yes.
So as I was saying, the variance is for 1717 North Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. The property is in the Birch State Finger Estates neighborhood. We are located on the southeast corner of Northeast 17th Court and Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. And we are surrounded by single-family residential uses and RS8 zoning all around. And to the east, of course, there's the beach. So we're requesting a variance for a wall setback. And in blue, you're going to see in the diagram in front of you that the location that we're asking for the variance is only in the blue area. So the wall in question is actually existing. These are some pictures of the house. The wall is the wall that is in the perimeter of the property right up against the sidewalk. And what we're looking to do, actually I should have specified, on the to the right is what we're looking to do. We want to keep the wall where it's located currently, and we just want to add glass to the top of that wall to provide for privacy and security. The wall is obviously right at the property line, and the new requirements are to set it back 3 feet. So again, these are some pictures of the house. The one to the bottom right is a view across from 17th Court. This one is looking at North Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard, and the other two images are on the interior of the property. So I'll go through the standards kind of quickly. The first one has to do with the special conditions for the property. And there are several, and as I go through the presentation, I'll show you, but there are several properties that have kind of a similar condition that we do in this area. The wall is a retaining wall, most likely installed probably to accommodate for a grade change. And there are several different factors that affect the grade change. First, there's the grade of the Atlantic Ocean, and of course the street right next to it. There's the required finished floor elevation. Of course, in this area, it's probably a little higher. The vicinity of Hugh Taylor Birch Park also affects the grade for this property. The wall did exist before the current owner purchased the property, and actually looking back at historical aerials, it looked like it was actually there even prior to 1971. The current fence regulations were adopted in 1997, so the wall does predate the regulations as well. The next standard talks about the special conditions being peculiar to this property or a small amount. On the right bottom side, you're going to see there are about 18 of these properties that are in corners that have a similar condition as ours. This does show that there is an actual marked exemption, especially in an RS8 zoning district. And in my backup, you're going to see that there are other RS8 zoning districts that don't have this particular condition. The next one talks about this depriving the applicant of a substantial property right. The property was actually renovated under a previous owner, not the current owner. This is not a demo and rebuild single-family home. The wall and glass do provide, as I mentioned, privacy and security. We have several trespass calls made into the police to come and remove trespassers. I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. So there's actually an ongoing issue with trespassing, so the extension to the wall will definitely make that problem go away. And the property will not be more profitable with the variance. The wall exists, and so does the residence. The next one talks about the hardship not being self-created. The wall is existing, as I mentioned. It existed prior to the current property owner, prior to the previous property owner, and prior to the regulations in question. A residential lot owner is free to seek security and privacy measures for their property. And the glass has not been added, and that actually adds to the disregarding the ULDC regulations. It hasn't been added. This is not an after-the-fact request. This is obviously before we do the work. This standard talks about several different things. So starting with the minimum variance, we're just asking to keep it where it's located. This will make it a reasonable use for the single-family home and the property. It is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the code. It is not incompatible with the area, and I'm going to go into that in the next slide. And it's also not going to be detrimental to the public welfare. So the property is in existence, has been in existence since before the 70s. It is within residential zoning and land use. It is the minimum that we are requesting. To force the owner to relocate and demo the wall is actually going to incur costs that he never intended or brought on himself. The home is not new, it's not new construction. The perimeter wall condition, retaining the wall the way it is currently is actually causing a safety concern for the neighborhood and the current property owner. And the glass extension does not increase the degree of nonconformity. So these images show a few properties that I was able to notice driving up and down North Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard. And these three, I'm not even sure if they have variances or any of the status of these, but they also have some sort of an extension, probably for the same reason. So this is actually not out of character. And on Friday of last week, we did have a trespassing issue again. And unfortunately, this is the 5th time this year, 2025, where we have a trespassing issue. The police report confirms that there were, as you can see, there's a backpack there and certain things left behind. In the backpack, they found drugs and syringes. There's been multiple police reports filed. These are 2 images of just 2 of the many. And they have actually gone ahead and hired a full-time patrol car just to sit out in front in the dark hours just to kind of monitor what's going on until this hopefully goes through. And we have obtained HOA approval. They did mention that they would have somebody here representing them. That should be in your backup. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll just have you not go too far, but it's okay. We have a seat. And if you'd like to come up, introduce yourself. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to speak at the microphone if you would, please. Yeah, you'll just play swaps with her. Oh, Jamie, if you could swear him in, please.
Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give at this public hearing will be truthful and accurate? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you could please state your name, property address.
Hi, my name is George Werling. I live at 3008 Northeast 17th Court in Fort Lauderdale. I am the VP of our HOA, and we ran a vote of the residents 2 streets to the south, 2 streets to the north in our street, which is 17th Court, and we approved the project as long as the glass is clear. So I didn't see that in the presentation, so as long as the glass is clear, we're in agreement.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I did see that in our backup, we do have a letter of support from the association as well, signed by Brian. Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Bob?
I guess I have one. Excuse my voice. I totally get the request. It's logical and all, but I guess my question is, with the neighborhood in that area, is it also something that maybe the city ought to be looking at zoning, updating zoning for that area to, what I'm meaning, if once one individual puts that glass up and raises that up, is that going to start a chain reaction down the street where you're going to have another property owner call the city saying, I want to do that, I want to do that, and maybe that's something the commission ought to look at as a zoning updater, if it's appropriate in that neighborhood for security and for updates and things like that. I mean, I get your request. I'm just wondering if that's driving up and down that area just a little bit. Like I said, there's a mass difference of heights and different types of fencing around there.
Right. I agree.
So that was more of a comment than a question for the applicant.
Well, yeah, but what do you think of that?
I agree.
Okay.
Okay. Milton. Oh, your light's lit.
No, I was going to make a motion.
Okay. Let me just see if there's any other questions.
Yeah.
Pat?
My vote on this is going to be contingent on it being on the record that the height increase is going to be a clear see-through surface only and not a continuation of a block wall. So if that was put on the record as part of the variance, that would sort of...
I agree. We agree.
Read my mind, Pat. Thank you.
I would just maybe state that although the variance says that it's currently a 24.75-inch high block wall, just everybody should understand that's from the finished floor on the inside of the property. If you actually go on the sidewalk, and this picture has a person, I think, jogging, you can see the wall is probably already 6 feet high on the sidewalk, and you want to add another 16 inches on top of that. So you can understand why the code exists for these walls that are right on the property line. What a horrible barrier that is to the public realm, to have almost a 9 foot tall wall right next to you up against the sidewalk. It makes for a very, very unappealing pedestrian experience.
I do, yes.
Yep.
Okay. So do we have a motion? Milton, I'm sorry, Samir?
Yeah, I was going to just ask a question, I guess, like for the board and also for you in terms of the choice of material, since the concern is around safety and security, utilizing glass, is there any concerns with that? I mean, there's no other properties there that's using glass and...
Yes. I didn't say it has to be a clear surface, so glass, hurricane glass, something clear is, really where, that was what you agreed to, correct? Yes.
I think the specification is for an impact-rated glass. I'm sure it has to be that way, being at your location.
Thank you.
The Florida Building Code does require it to be tempered and impact resistant.
Excellent. In that case, Milton, here's your opportunity.
Okay, make a motion that PL-BOA-241-20002 for approval.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
No.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Mergler?
Yes.
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Chair Offman?
Yes.
Passed 6-1.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Next case, case number 2501-0001, 2411 Andros Lane. Disclosures first. Milton?
Don't have any.
Samir?
No.
Amy?
No.
Bob?
None.
Jason?
Nope.
Pat? Any disclosures, Pat?
No.
Okay. And I spoke to council and also did a site visit. So, Andrew, you're up.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Andrew Shine, representing the property owner. The property is located at 2411 Andros Lane, and this is a side setback variance. Brief history of the property. The property was built in 1959. It used to be under the Broward County zoning. The property was annexed to the city in 2002, and when the Riverland area was annexed, the city created new zoning districts to try and best fit what was already existing out there. Unfortunately, with the one-size-fits-all approach, they didn't get every single property because they created, I believe it was 4 or 5 zoning districts. But that area was built a little uniquely over decades. So the new zoning that was adopted in 2002 doesn't fully incorporate all of the existing properties, including this one. As part of that annexation process, the county gave the city all of the property records, so the building department records, old permit records for those properties in Riverland. However, the city does not have any records of this property, unfortunately. That's not too uncommon in that transfer, especially the things that happened in the late 90s and early 2000s, but that property records department over there has 0 property records for this property. The area we're going to be speaking about, and this is in 2001, so this is the year before the annexation took place when this was still under county zoning, and we're going to be talking about that area that's circled in red there. You can see it's the exact same area. This is the, if you look on the bottom left, 2024. The overall structure hasn't changed. We can flip back and forth. The roof line's in the same place, but that's the area we'll be talking about today. This area was a garage before 2020, and we presume it was built before the annexation under the old county code. We can't really 100% confirm that, again, because the city doesn't have records of it, but we do believe that it was built by the old Ariels before the annexation. The reason we're here tonight is because the garage was changed from a garage, fully enclosed garage, not a carport, but a fully enclosed garage into a bedroom in 2020. And now we're going in for permits for that, about a year ago going in for permits. And it was determined that the existing garage was within the required setback here. This is street view. Unfortunately, we only have going back to 2008 street view. But you can see on the top right, it was a standard garage. And on the bottom, it was converted into a living space, and the garage door was removed. This is an excerpt from the old county zoning. We don't know exactly what the zoning was in 1959 on the date that this was approved or built. But you can see here that this is in their single-family zoning districts. Again, this is from 1977, the latest version that we have. But in their single-family zoning districts, they did have allowances for setbacks at 5 feet. Right now, the code requires 7.5. We don't know, this particular section didn't apply to this property, or wouldn't apply because it has a lot width of 60 feet, and this says a lot width less than 60 feet can go to 5. But we at least know that back then, the county did have allowances to go to a 5-foot setback, and it could have been very different in 1959. That's the note. This is the county code from 77, not 59. We don't have access to the exact code at the time of construction. So under the county zoning, we have some known conclusions. The first is that the county zoning did allow for 5-foot setbacks in some circumstances at some point when this was in the county zoning, which would not be allowed today post-annexation. We also know that the overall structure appears to be in the exact same location pre- and post-annexation. This is an old aerial from 1965, about 6 years after the property was built. Not the highest quality, but if you zoom in a little, again, the overall structure itself, the roof line, the location of it has not changed since now we know at least 1965, according to aerials. Now comes to what I'll call an educated presumption, since we are not working with all of the information that we could possibly get. Well, we are working with all the information that we could possibly get, but not all the pertinent information. Our educated presumption is that since 5-foot setbacks were permitted on some properties in 1977, the overall structure appears to be unchanged from pre- and post-annexation, and the city has no property records for this house. We presume that the property was legally constructed when it was constructed and only became legally non-conforming due to the annexation of the property. This is the, again, this is just a presumption. This is the, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And all of the signs here point that this was legally constructed at the setback it's at right now when it was annexed. This came apart as a change of use. It's not a conversion and it's not an addition. This really came about as a change of use from a garage to a bedroom. And this is not the typical variances that we see, that this board sees when you do conversions. A lot of the time this board sees people take a carport and then they enclose the carport to be a garage and then they convert that to a bedroom. And the reason that that's not allowed, or that this board sees it, is because carports are allowed to be within setbacks, but garages are not. And that makes sense. If you have an open air side, it looks a lot different than a straight wall. So that's why this board sees that. And the outcome of that is you are increasing the footprint and the square footage of the house illegally, because you can't convert a carport to a garage in the exact same area. But this is not that. This is a request to convert a garage to a living space. It's solely a change of use, no change to the structural footprint, no increase in square footage. The 4 walls are going to remain exactly where the 4 walls have remained since, we believe, at least 1959 when it was built. Onto the variance criteria. The first criteria is that special conditions exist which prevent the reasonable use of the property. The property was, we believe, all signs point to it, that it was rendered nonconforming solely because the city annexed the property. Converting a garage space to a living space is, of course, a reasonable use. If you're within your setbacks, you can do that all day long, no issues. Garages and bedrooms have the exact same setback requirements. And then further, requiring demolition or controlling the internal improvements of a house that doesn't affect the outside of it is unreasonable. The next is that it's a peculiar property or a market exception. First of all, annexed properties are unique in the city to begin with. There are only two main areas that were annexed, two residential areas, Melrose Park and Riverland. That alone is unique. Within that zoning district, this property is further unique in that the new zoning code rendered this property non-conforming. Again, the city did the best they can when they created the new zoning code for these annexed areas, but it wasn't a one-size-fits-all. Most properties are not non-conforming there. Most properties meet the current code, even though they were built decades ago. This property doesn't, because it wasn't one-size-fits-all. Third criteria is that it's a deprivation of a substantial property right. This is from the city's comprehensive plan, the property rights element. And the city recognizes that a property owner has a right to use, maintain, develop, and improve his or her property for personal use. It does say subject to the state law and local ordinances as well. But improving your own property is a substantial property right, and the annexation didn't allow this property owner to do that. Next is it's a hardship not created by the applicant or predecessors. The inability to do internal conversions to your own house is a hardship. If the city came and said you're not allowed to convert your something into a bathroom, and you meet all the Florida building code, but because the city annexed your property, now you can't do this internal conversion that doesn't affect anybody, that's a hardship on its own. And it was solely because the city annexed their property 23 years ago. It was not created by the applicant. The last is that it's the minimum variance necessary to make a reasonable use of the property. And I want to reiterate that this application is simply to legalize the existing setbacks that we believe have existed since 1959. The wall was there already. The wall was at less than 7.5 feet that would be required today. This is not an addition. We're not adding to it. The property has existed again with these four walls like they are now. This is not, I think the first speaker mentioned an addition, but this is not an addition. We are solely trying to legalize what's existing. That's really it.
No more ducks?
No more ducks.
Okay, good. Thank you, Andrew. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to this matter? If you'd like to, sir, please come up to the microphone and I'll ask you to restate your name and your property address.
My name's Grenville Kirk. I live right next door to this property he's talking about. And the reason I stipulated what I did before was because most of the houses he's talking about built in 54 and had a fire that burned out the records. That's why they have no records. But they all got the similar setbacks that are existing. Mine's the same as the one he's talking about. That's how they built them back then. That's why I'm trying to stipulate that any additions shall follow what is already there, shall follow existing. Because you change the setback on an existing building, it looks like hell. That decreases the property value. That's no good. I'm only talking strictly for what makes common sense. You're building onto an existing building, you follow this existing lines. Don't change the setback. Keep it the way it is, period. Because to change it doesn't help anything at all. It's not like you're increasing the value or increasing safety or anything like that. to keep the same setback is only the sensible way to go. Period.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, close the public hearing.
Can I add one thing? We do have I have support letters if you want me to pass them out from the neighbor to the north, the one who would be most affected by this. I do have a letter of support from that neighbor as well.
If you brought it with you, might as well. And we just heard from the neighbor from the south, so that part was easy. Okay, bring it back to board for any questions.
Just a quick question. Will you be coming back to get a variance for the covered patio that's adjacent to the garage that's also most likely within the setback?
This variance is worded fairly broadly to just allow the existing setback to exist.
So this will also basically allow the non-complying covered patio cover in the back also if we approve this variance? Which was most likely added way after 1977?
I don't know that it's non-conforming, though. There are allowances for awnings and coverings into a setback. That would be a zoning question.
Bert?
Looks a lot more than an awning to me, but...
So if you approve a setback variance, just in general, it's going to affect anything that's built there in the future. They could tear the house down and build it to that setback. Brand new house.
We would stipulate, if you want to put a condition on that we cannot do that. We are fine with that. That is not the intention at all.
That the variance would be for this structure only.
That would be fine. Anything that's existing right now.
And again, I don't know if you want it for this and the other patio, as long as the patio is permitted.
If the patio doesn't extend further than the 5.85.
Yeah, correct. Everything is built along the exact same line of this house. Right. Everything is along the exact same line.
Okay, so if we reduce the required setback to 5.85, it's going to cover anything on the property that's at 5.85.
Yes. Everything was built. Everything was built flush with the existing.
Would approval then allow them to enclose that covering that's there now that we've allowed them to bring the approve the variance into the setback?
Yes, it would.
Yeah, see, I don't know about that.
We would love to stipulate on the record that if you can make an exception of that, we're not doing that. We don't want to do that. All we're asking is that what is existing and what we believe has been existing since the 50s can exist.
Okay, so it would be no further enclosure of any structure on the property, right?
Correct.
So with that in mind, if there's not any other questions, you may want to make a motion and include all that.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to do that.
Of course.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the variance to reduce the side yard setback to 4.85 for all of the existing structures, with the proviso that it be for this structure only, and that no further enclosures of any open air portions of the property on that side be permitted.
Do we have a second?
I said 5.85, didn't I?
4.8.
Oh, sorry, 5.85.
Right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Ms. Merkler?
Yes.
Mr. Yagnik?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Yes. And Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Passed 7-0.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, do we have any communications to the City Commission? I'll just make one note to the City Commission. Thank you for giving us a full board, including alternates, and appreciate all the board members here today. Thank you. And is there anything for the good of the city? Seeing, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.